So, let's start by taking a look at what you're going to learn on this course and go through the topics I'll be covering, including, of course, as you would expect, lots of iOS 5 goodness. First thing we'll do is we'll take a look through the iOS framework libraries, partly recap, partly new. We'll go through using blocks and why they're so important, why they're going to save you a lot of time and effort. We'll talk about threads and performance. Many of you may have looked at multi-threaded development and found the whole concept of threads quite difficult to follow or quite difficult to implement. We'll go through a basic overview of threaded and concurrent programming and talk about how we can improve performance in applications, and there'll be some nice new iOS 5 stuff in there for you too. We'll talk about storyboards, new for iOS 5. We'll talk about customizing the UI with new functionality that's just been introduced in iOS 5. And we'll talk about adding in-app audio. So if you're into creating games or entertaining applications of any sort and you want to add audio to them, we'll look at how to do it here. We'll then go and look at Twitter integration, another iOS 5 feature. And we'll finish off by looking at iCloud integration, also an iOS 5 feature. Okay, let's have a little look in detail at what we're going to look at with the iOS framework libraries. We'll review core libraries, take a quick look through the media level libraries, and then we'll talk about those iOS 5 new additions. In the blocks section, we'll go through an overview of what blocks are, why they're so useful, how you can build with blocks, and we'll look at an example using the assets library, which is one of the framework libraries that uses blocks, and the example will be a simple library browser which uses the assets library framework and blocks to enumerate through all the photos saved on a device. We'll move on to look at threads and performance, an overview of threading, simple multi-threading and how it's important, and how we can free the user interface and give a better experience for the users. And then we'll look at improving app performance, and then the big topic, automatic reference counting, new in iOS 5, how we can make things a lot easier for ourselves. And the example application we'll create in this chapter will be a feed stream. This is the first of 2 Twitter public timeline apps we'll be creating, this time using it purely to demonstrate an example of loading content from a URL on a separate thread in the background. The storyboards chapter will show the new features of storyboards. We'll go through a simple storyboard example where I'll show you how to create storyboards and how to link and create different screens. And then we'll look at how to convert existing projects. One of the examples we'll create here will be this simple storyboard application, in which I'll show you not only how to use storyboards, but also how to use other new features of Xcode to visually define the layout of table view cells. In the Customizing the UI chapter, we'll look at the new UI appearance features in iOS 5 and how they can help us to customize the look and feel of an application. I'll take you through an example of basic UI customization, and then how you can customize controls to make them look completely different. We'll finish off with a non-iOS 5 feature, but something important nonetheless, and look at how we can use core text to use custom fonts within the application and present custom text to the user. The in-app audio chapter will look at the audio frameworks available for your application, talk about how to add a background soundtrack to your game, for example, adding sound effects, again useful for gaming or for entertaining type applications, and we'll look at how to allow the user to pick background music from their library for your application. In the Twitter integration chapter, we'll look at the new iOS 5 features for Twitter integration, see how you can send a tweet, and see how you can retrieve the public timeline as an example of a Twitter request. We'll look at the same feed stream application we looked at before, but this time we'll completely rewrite it to use the new Twitter integration. And we'll take a look at iCloud integration, have a look at how iCloud has been integrated with iOS 5 into applications, look at how you can store application settings in the iCloud, and how you can synchronize documents and store documents in iCloud. So, lots of new iOS 5 topics, and some very useful topics to show you how you can customize your applications and get them better performing and make your users happy.